Hey everybody, this week we are talking about why discipline is good and necessary for the Christian life. It sounds like a boring conversation, but I promise it's not. Come join us. Welcome back, sup girl, and everybody else. We are looking forward to being with you today. We are in episode number 53 of the Faith and Whatever podcast, dude.
That's
53.
Impressive.
There? I mean, 53, right, Chris?
I listen to some podcasts online and they're like, hey.
54, no, isn't it?
Oh, I'm sorry, 54. Episode 54 of the Faith and Whatever
I listen to some guys
podcast.
like, welcome to episode 18, all our thousands of followers. And I'm like, dude, we don't have thousands of followers, but we've got a crap ton of episodes.
Yeah. So if you're following along by now, you know who I am. I'm at Josh_Carmen. Garrett is at TStudentLife. James is at JamesYUILE. And Chris is at Marion Ranch. And this week we're talking about just the necessity of discipline in the Christian life. And I know this seems kind of like a boring topic, but what I've come to find out is there are things that I have been dealing with in my own Christian walk that have been severely curbed by my ability to garner discipline and gain it in my life. And so I wanted to bring this up and discuss it on the podcast because it felt important to me to be able to say and to give this kind of secret or make it very known and plainly obvious that if
Hopefully it's not a secret.
Yeah, that if we're willing to kind of live
But it kind of is.
in these confines, and if we're willing to kind of structure our lives around the specific way that I'm going to offer and kind of get your guys' take on today, then I think we can see some vast and drastic improvements, not just in our spiritual health, but in all aspects of our life. So just a couple of thoughts and a couple of ideas. First, Hebrews 12, 7 through 11 is a fantastic set of verses that I like to turn to when we're kind of discussing this idea of discipline. James 1 is also another thing that is interesting when this idea of trials that come up and how we're supposed to respond appropriately.
Tell us what they say?
No.
All right.
No, but as a listener, you
one's
can.
James and one's by Paul. So.
And no, Hebrews is not by Paul.
Oh.
Yeah. So
I
the
mean,
idea
says that,
you
but-
can. No, he never identifies himself in the letter. Come on, dude. Come on,
How would
bro.
we? Yeah, I mean.
Is probably written
Shouldn't
by
assume that.
Priscilla. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Women don't write scripture. Also, just kidding. They totally do. So anyway,
Probably.
you can go to BibleGateway.com, look up those verses for yourself. If you have a Bible, you can do it there. If you have the YouVersion Bible app, you can find that in the App Store. So it's really good. So one of the things to start off is really just to talk about the way, first of all, that trials are connected to discipline. I think one of the things that I've seen in my own life as I've been getting older and kind of out of the college setting is trying to see the value of maintaining like some type of rigor for myself. It's hard because when you work in ministry, you don't necessarily have standard 9 to 5 hours with stuff, and so the flexibility for me can kind of create and cultivate laziness. And so I've had to work on kind of staying on top of this. And then there's the other side of that coin where if you do work like in a labor-intensive 9 to 5 type job or whatever, sometimes you just come home and you're so wiped that you don't have time or energy to do anything else. And so I think it's interesting though that we see in particular with this concept of growth and like advancement in our relationships, not just with the Lord, but with people and in the world. All of it has to do with some understanding of this appropriate enacting of discipline. So one of the things that I wanted to share a little bit of a story that I've been trying. My wife is a morning person. I am not by any stretch of the imagination. Chris, are you a morning person? And so,
I mean, we're recording this podcast at midnight, so that tells you.
So one of the things that I have found to be an interesting dilemma in our relationship has been trying to adjust our body clocks to some reasonable similarity there, which has meant me completely adjusting my body clock to hers. And so we have been trying to get to the gym together in the mornings.
Like 5 a.m.?
5:45 a.m.
Gosh.
We have been up every day for the last week to make, I guess 2 weeks now, to make it work. And I'll tell you what, the last 2 weeks have been some of the most disciplined weeks of my entire life. And I have seen how these things make their way into the other aspects of my life. It's been easier to put sermons together. It's been easier to sit down and work on my thesis. It's been easier to be productive in terms of cleaning the house, paying my bills, whatever it is. And it's all just started to move in this direction. And that's really interesting because when you read Hebrews 12, right, the author eventually goes on to say that like without discipline, we become illegitimate. Like, why we can't necessarily consider ourselves children of God. And I think, a part of that is kind of a waning away.
That's intense. That's a bit it's one of those verses where you kind of want to ignore that they're there.
Yeah,
they're so
yeah.
definitive.
It's super uncomfortable.
It's like, hey, if you don't forgive other people, I'm not going to forgive you. And it's like, whoa. Let's just back up a little bit.
Well, and so that's what I wanted to ask you guys in terms of when you've been cultivating discipline in your own walk with God in your guys' lives, Chris and Garrett. How has that been? Like, what things have you found that have been helpful for you? What is one or two big things that you have found to be like, hey, this has to happen if I feel like I'm, walking in step with God in a way that's meaningful and valuable?
Yeah, I'm not very good at discipline, so maybe you should ask Chris.
All right.
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I mean, it's different areas in our life, right? I look at, I'm not the best at time management, so when I look at discipline, I don't necessarily look at, maybe I should, I don't necessarily look at like how disciplined my day is. I'm not great at time management, so I'm just trying to like get through my day with everything done and nobody mad at me that I forgot to be somewhere or do something.
Yeah.
And right now I've got a lot just to do, and so my discipline is just making sure they all get done, I guess. But I also look at it in our choices, right? The weirdest thing about discipline is like we choose to do something or not. And why is it that we sometimes allow ourselves to do something that we don't want to do, or that we allow ourselves to do something that we never wanted to do?
Mm-hmm.
I remember being younger. I remember the exact like sophomore, junior year, talking about sex in high school, right? And I wanted to save sex till marriage. I remember a friend of mine who also wanted to, but he was like, dude, but like when that chance, like there's a girl there, like I'm just going to do it. I'm like, but you don't want to? He's like, no, I don't want to, but like, how do you say no to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very honest and at least a
that was
good
great,
approach.
right?
Yeah.
I was like, you just say no. He's like, dude, there's no way I can say no, And I remember just being so blown away that like,
that's really self-aware.
Sure.
As a sophomore in high school.
Whatever. He was being honest, right? But I just remember being like blown away that like he didn't want to do something, but he knew he wouldn't be able to stop. I remember thinking, I hope that I'm not like that in that sense. So I think you kind of have to get to this place where you want to stand for something that's so important to you that you do the opposite of that. You positively reinforce that you can do this and that you will do this thing. So if it's getting up early, if it's not doing something with someone that you're not married to, or make sure that you keep reinforcing yourself that you can do that thing, that it's not insurmountable, and that you won't succumb to the inability to make the right choice in that situation.
Yeah, and so right there are a few
Romans 7:15 on that.
Yeah, read it.
I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do I do not do, but what I hate I do.
So
Right.
just for the record, trying to translate that from Greek into English is probably the single most frustrating passage, other than Paul at the Areopagus in Acts, which was a terrible passage to translate. So, Chris, one of the things that you did, I don't know if this was a while ago now, but that I thought was super impressive was the idea of reading through James every day for a year.
Yeah.
So, can you just why?
Why?
I mean, what was the value that you found in that discipline?
Okay, when was it I told you I did that?
I thought it was like a year ago now. 2
At
years
least,
ago now?
right?
Yeah.
It was longer than that. It was before I was married I started doing it.
Okay.
I still do it.
Still today?
Yeah.
So what has been
The odd thing is I haven't memorized James by now. I've
and
been doing this for almost 4 years now.
every day?
Every day.
You're going that?
You
Keep
go
reading a
through it
chapter.
chronologically?
Yeah, just read one chapter every morning.
So
Over
okay,
and over.
so how has that influenced you in terms of not just your not just like your spiritual life? I mean, I think obviously it's like you're reading your Bible every day. That the benefits of that are obvious, right? But in terms of what other pragmatic difference has it made for you that you've noticed in yourself?
It keeps reminding me. Well, for one, like I said, I haven't memorized it. I couldn't sit here and quote the whole book
Sure.
of James to you, but it's all in there.
Yeah.
So when I start reading it, I'm like, yeah, I already know this, but not in a bad way. But so it keeps it's always in my mind now. It's kind of ingrained, the ideas of James, and the reason I picked James to do that with was because it's a book of action, right? Or telling us to take action.
Yeah, for sure.
And I wanted that reminder to be there in my own mind,
So
reminding me to be active.
I love that. I love that idea.
It's like a Psalms 119:11, like hiding the word in your heart, right?
Yeah.
Like you literally don't know it, but it's hidden deep inside of you so that you can live it.
But I mean, in the way that it works itself out, right, in different pragmatic ways, we've had this discussion kind of more off air, but in terms of, you have a fair amount of homeless people that wander through, right, kind of the area
I
in
live
which
on
you
a
work.
busy street here.
And so, but the idea of like, when you get annoyed by those people, we've had these discussions about, I'm reminded to be a little bit more compassionate for people.
I'm reminded, what good is it when I say, God bless you, go and be warm and filled with the Spirit.
And then give them no food.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a solid quote from James. But so I like this idea because discipline teaches, there are a few basic reality things that we understand about discipline, right? The first one is that it's good for us because on a basic level, it helps us grow up. We have to, I'm in the backside of my 20s now. I'm closer to 30 than I am to 20. And so, I'm getting older, but I want to have kids soon. And I have to think about this idea. I thought in myself, I got married about a year too early. And it turns out I was right there. And so my wife,
if you're listening, Angie,
and dude, we've talked about this in counseling a lot. Like I spent most of our first year apologizing just for things that I didn't understand because my learning curve was so high as a crappy husband. But the idea of that, I want to have kids and you've just had a baby. And so, like, discipline has taken on this new thing in your life, like, again, for the second time. Like, it doesn't sound horrible, but it sounds terrifying in the sense that, like, you have to be so consistent on feedings, on sleep schedules, on time with Lucy, on time with Stacy, on time with work. Like, how do you do that if you can't
terrible.
Be disciplined?
Yeah, you have to be. You don't, and I don't say this in any negative way, but it's
your children will literally die if you don't.
Yeah, you literally, not to scare anyone, but to go from no kids to kids, you're... I guess not your lifestyle. You look at people and go, your lifestyle didn't change that much. You still do what you want. But, gosh, the discipline.
All the cocaine and blackjack you can handle.
The reason why you do things. So, you literally are living for somebody else like never before. Because they'll die if you don't do the things that they need to be done.
That's insane to me.
It's living for a different reason completely.
So this has been interesting to me. Sorry to be so stammery, but the biggest area that I've been trying to practice this discipline is in this discipline of rest. And so I've been talking a lot in my own counseling experience about the importance of Sabbath, right? Because I tend to not operate with having one of those. And so
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
And kind of, that's been my approach to life for the last several years. And so I've been talking with my counselor.
And now I'm almost time for sleep.
Well, it feels that way, man. And so I've been on this deadline to get this thesis done, and I've been talking with my counselor Tom, and one of the things that he's talked about is like, dude, you have to be able to
confidential counseling. Shout out.
And no, we're cool. So you have to be able to find rest, otherwise you're gonna burn yourself out. So one of the things that I've been doing with this thesis though is I've installed this extension for Safari called Cold Turkey, which like blocks Facebook, it blocks YouTube. It gets rid of all of your sites for you for a determined amount of time. So I just come over here.
I saw that on your computer.
Yeah.
I don't know what that was.
And so,
I could totally use it. How does it even work?
I set it for an hour, and then I can't.
Let me see.
So you go for an hour like that. Okay, I just kind of screwed myself over there. But I go for an hour. Now I can't see it again. I can't see Facebook again until 7:05.
Why?
Right?
There's Facebook right there.
No, it'll collapse it in a second once it starts working. And so you go to that site, and then it'll just like say some really inspirational quote by Maya Angelou or something like that. And it's basically a nice way of telling you to get back to work, right? And
I need that.
And then when you're done, this little bing pops up and says, "You've just finished a block. Congratulations, you're solid." And so
that was Safari, anyways. That's
right. So I've been using this, but I've been training myself to go in these hour increments of discipline on working on my thesis. But then once this hour kind of comes up, and I'm done or whatever, I've been getting up and I've been stretching my legs. But one of the things I've been trying to incorporate is spending some time in prayer, thanking God for just the last hour of being able to write. And so slowing down within these hour increments for like 10 minutes. I'm just trying to, if I'm out somewhere at a coffee house, I'll just go into the bathroom and lock myself in the bathroom for like 10 minutes and just sit and pray. Yeah. And so I've just been doing it. I know it's weird.
Stop hogging the bathroom, dude.
I know it's weird.
Especially at a coffee house where there's only one.
And it's kind of creepy and it's kind of gross or whatever, but like.
And now I'm not allowed in 4 coffee houses.
And so if I have to go, whatever, I'll just, sit down and it's all set.
That's not meditating.
Well, it is after I finish. And so
what else are you going to do in there?
So it's just right. So Aubrey Hepburn quote, "Nothing is impossible. The word itself says I'm possible," right?
But isn't this just like people want to magically have stuff, right?
I do.
And discipline is but discipline is the work.
Yeah.
I play a lot of instruments. And
how many are you up to now?
I'm like in the neighborhood of 16, I want to say. Depending on how you count. You count tambourine as knowing how to play an instrument? Come on.
Yeah. I don't know how to play one.
I can't play, so yeah.
But everyone, like for so long, people come up to me and go, "Wow, I wish I could play an instrument." And it's just the discipline of sitting down and practicing every stinking day. Like I come out here every morning and sit in my studio and I go through, I have like kind of a list in my head and I rotate through the different ones and I practice and it's completely boring some days. But that's what it takes. And it's like people, it's the same thing with our relationship with God. People go, oh, I wish I was closer with God. It's like, well, I don't want to actually, spend time with him or have to sit down every day and read my Bible. I just wish I was closer to God.
Yeah. I see it all the time in youth ministry, and you probably see it too. I mean, students they get back to camp and they're like, oh yeah. And there was this
the camp high. I remember those.
And I don't know what Josh does. And please don't get mad at me if this is not your ministry. But like when students recommit, like we clap and hug. But I always
makes me so upset.
I always before I start that I'm like, hey, like we're not really gonna celebrate this in the same way we're gonna celebrate that student who just accepted Christ, because we're so glad that the student is back into the fold and back into in the love of God, but somewhere we failed him or her, or he failed him, and he just
careful not to assume gender.
Him or her, whatever he identifies with. Like it's just
Apache helicopter.
There's something bad that happened. There's this falling away that doesn't have to happen every time. And those same students, halfway in the year, they'll be like, man, I'm just not as close to God, and I give them the workout analogy. I'm like, if you wanted to run a marathon in 6 months, if you didn't work out,
you better start talking now.
Yeah. If you didn't work out and you went to the finish line, you're like, dude, I couldn't do it. Like, what happened? I'm like, well,
I got in my car and drove.
So if you come to me, like, and it happens all the time, youth ministry, I wish I was closer to God. What should I do? I'm like, dude, you've got to work out your God muscle. Like you've got to do it.
Oh, or you're not so cliche, bro.
I don't say that to him.
So Josh loves that because Josh is a gym rat. But it's the same thing. Oh man, I wish I was buff. It's like, oh, do you work out now? That's too much work. Yeah. I just wish I was buff.
And they'll even say, like, I wish I could hear. How do I hear from God? Like, I wish I could hear from him. Like, well, do you talk to him? Like, do you spend time in the Word and give him time and spaces for him to talk to you?
Take time to sit and be quiet?
And of course they don't do that.
Be still, right? Being still before the Lord. So, what's our time at? I don't want to belabor
18.
Yeah, this is pretty good, right? So any closing thoughts or any?
Well, one of the things, I think discipline takes many forms, and I said that. And one of the things I learned from Dave Ramsey, one of the quotes he said was, the best sign of maturity is delayed gratification. I think sometimes we want things so quickly. I think discipline is in the waiting.
I got Amazon Prime now. It can be here in 2 hours.
2 hours of discipline, God. That's all I got.
It takes discipline. Like, so many times I want that stupid fidget thing that Chris has. I just want to play with it right now. But discipline is just waiting.
I ordered mine off Amazon. I had to wait 3 weeks for it.
I was tempted to just throw it at you. That would have been really fun. But it's pretty hard. So.
But in the same way that we always say God's...
careful what you wish for.
That's right. Ninja stardom.
God teaches us patience in his own timing. I think discipline is wrapped right into that.
That's why they say to never. Discipline. Sorry, but they say never pray for patience.
That's right.
Because there's only one way to learn it.
Right. The same thing is true of discipline.
But and that is the exact thing. Look, if the reality is, if you want to grow, if you desire to grow closer to the Lord, it's going to take some intentional time to say, look, for the next week, I'm just going to try and read my Bible twice.
Yeah.
And then if you just do it twice for a month, and then you go, okay, I'm going to try and increase it to 3.
What do you tell your students, like 30 seconds or a minute?
Dude.
Just do like a minute a day.
Yeah. So we set out this
Tell
thing.
them to do James, one chapter a day. It's easy.
And you can try it if you're watching this and you want to get closer to God and you don't know really where to start. Pull out your phone, open up your timer, set it next to you, and then just hit go. And then just read the Bible until you get bored. Right? So pick up a chapter in James and start reading until you get bored there. And then once you get bored, just stop. And there, turn off your timer. 57 seconds. Okay, that's how much you can authentically give to God right now, right? So for the next 57 seconds, 3 times a week, try that. And then after a month of doing that 3 times a week, retest yourself and then see where you're at. And so it's important to be able to do those things because, again, God cares about where you are authentically and God wants to grow you.
And if you don't feel like do it, remember James 4:17.
It says,
if anyone knows the right thing to do and doesn't do it, it's sin.
And on that belaboring note,
uncomfortable verses.
I mean, it's true.
So anyway, if you have any thoughts on discipline or if you have any techniques or things that have worked out well for you, please let us know in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe and share this video.